Hello everyone, today we are going to learn Chapter 8 Unity in Diversity or Many in the One from your Social Science textbook. In this video, I'll be covering each and every line from the chapter so you don't miss anything important. Make sure to keep your notebook and pen ready and take notes while watching. This will help you remember the concepts better. You can pause or rewind any time to write things down. So, let's begin. First, we have a quote by Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore was a famous Indian poet, writer and teacher. He wrote poems, stories, songs and plays that teach us about life, nature and human feelings. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913 and is known all over the world for his beautiful and thoughtful writing. Oh, grant me my prayer that I may never lose the bliss of the touch of the one in the play of the many. So Rabindranath Tagore is asking for a blessing. He prays that he should never lose the joy of feeling a deep unity in the middle of all the many differences in life. So, play of the many means the world is full of many people, cultures and ideas. Touch of the one, the special joy when we feel unity or oneness among all of them. So, Tagore is saying that amidst all the diversity around us, it's important to feel connected and find the harmony. So, Tagore is praying, may I always feel the happiness of seeing unity behind all diversity. Next, we have a quote by Shri Aurobindo. Shri Aurobindo was a great Indian philosopher, poet, and freedom fighter. He believed in the unity of all people and the importance of spiritual growth. He wrote many books and essays about life, society, and India's culture. He taught that even though people are different, they can live together in harmony, which is called unity in diversity. He says, the principle of unity in diversity, which has always been normal to India and its fulfillment, the fundamental cause of her being and its very nature, the many in the one, would place her on the sure foundation of her Swabhav and Swadharma. Shri Aurobindo is saying that in India, it is natural to have many different people, cultures, religions and ideas living together. This has always been part of India's way of life. The many in the one means that even though people are different, they are all part of one big family or one nation. When India lives by this principle, it stays true to its own nature, that is Swabhav, and to its duty, that is Swadharma, meaning it becomes strong, peaceful and balanced. So in simple words, we can say that India has many different people, languages and cultures, but all of them together make India one big family. Accepting this diversity is what makes India strong and true to itself. So the big questions are, what is meant by unity in diversity in the Indian scenario? What aspects of India's diversity are the most striking? How do we make out the unity underlying the diversity? We will find answers for these questions in this chapter. A rich diversity. If you travel through India by train, you will notice not only changing landscapes, but also many different types of dresses and food. You will hear different languages, familiar and unfamiliar, and see different scripts on the way. Even within your own region, you will often come across people from other parts of India with different customs and traditions. This is India's rich diversity, and it is usually the first thing that strikes visitors to our country. So, if you travel across India by train, you will see many amazing things. The landscapes keep changing and so do the people, their clothes and the food they eat. You will hear different languages, some you know and some you don't, and see different writing styles. Even in your own town, you may meet people from other parts of India with different traditions and customs. This shows how diverse India is, and it is usually the first thing visitors notice when they come to our country. So, India is a land full of variety, many people, cultures, foods, languages and traditions all living together. With over 1.4 billion inhabitants, about 18% of the world's population, such diversity is not surprising. In the 20th century, the Anthropological Survey of India, a national organization, conducted a massive survey called People of India Project of 4,635 communities across all states of the country. It counted 325 languages using 25 scripts. It also observed that many Indians may be called migrants in the sense of people not living near their birthplace or with their original community. So, India is home to more than 1.4 billion people, which is almost 1 out of every 5 people in the world. With so many people, it's natural that India is very diverse. In the late 20th century, the Anthropological Survey of India did a big study called the People of India Project. They looked at 4,635 communities across all states and found that India has 325 languages written in 25 different scripts. The survey also showed that many people in India live away from the place where they were born and from their original community. This means that India is not only diverse but also constantly mixing and bringing people from different places together. So, India has many people, many languages and many communities, and people often move around. All of this makes India rich in diversity. Let's explore. As a class activity, make lists of 1. The birthplaces of at least 5 classmates and the birthplaces of their parents. 2. The students' mother tongues and other languages known to them. Discuss the results in terms of diversity. So first, we need to make a list of birthplaces. Write down where you and at least 4 of your classmates were born. Also write down where your parents were born. And second, you need to make a list of languages. Write down your mother tongue, that is the language you speak at home. And also write down any other languages you can speak or understand. Then look at all these lists together. You will notice that your classmates and their families come from different places and speak different languages. Even though everyone is different, you are all in the same class, just like India, where many cultures, languages and communities live together. So, in short, diversity means many different people, places and languages coming together in one group. While diversity is indeed beautiful, making sense of it is not so easy. Over a century ago, the British historian Vincent Smith wondered, so even though diversity is beautiful, it can sometimes be hard to understand. With so many people, languages and cultures, it may feel confusing to see how everything fits together. More than 100 years ago, the British historian Vincent Smith also wondered about this. He thought about how India, with so many different people, could still remain one country. How in the face of such bewildering diversity can a history of India be written? The answer to the query is found in the fact that India offers unity in diversity. Vincent Smith was surprised by how different everything is in India. So many languages, clothes, foods, festivals, and ways of living. So he asked, when India is so diverse, how can we write one single history of India? Then he himself gave the answer. India may be very diverse, but there is a strong unity behind all these differences. So even though India looks very diverse on the outside, there are common traditions, shared stories, shared values, and a sense of belonging that tie people together. This unity allows India to have one history even with many differences. What is meant by unity in diversity? How shall we perceive and express this unity or the many in the one? To answer this question, we will explore a few dimensions of Indian life. So, what does unity in diversity really mean? How can we understand this unity? How can we see the many different cultures as part of one India? To understand this, the chapter says that we will look at different parts of Indian life like festivals, languages, stories, art and traditions. By exploring these, we will understand how India stays united even with so many diversity. Food for all. Some of you will have eaten food from different regions of India. The number of different dishes and preparations you can taste in India must be in their thousands if not lakhs. Yet, certain food grains are common to almost every part of the country. Cereals such as rice, barley and wheat, millets such as pearl millet that is bajra, sorghum that is jowar, finger millet that is ragi, and pulses such as various kinds of dals and grams. All these are called staple grains because they are the basic food for most Indians. Figure 8.1 on page 127. So, if you have tried food from different parts of India, you must have noticed that there are thousands of different dishes. Every region has its own special flavors and recipes. But despite all these differences, there are some common foods eaten almost everywhere. These include cereals, that is rice, wheat and barley. Millets, that is pearl millet, bajra, sorghum, that is jowar, finger millet, ragi. Pulses, different types of dals and grams. These are called staple grains because they are the basic foods for most people in India. So you can see in this map that in North India people eat rajma, white lobia, basmati rice, masoor dal and rice. In West India, moong dal, chana dal, and in East India, rice, pigeon pea, gram. Central India, chickpea, arhar dal, millet and maize. In South India, jowar, sona masuri rice, millet, kollam rice and poni rice. Similarly, some common spices such as turmeric, cumin, cardamom and ginger are also used throughout the country. We could continue this list with some common vegetables, common oils, etc. So, just like staple grains, some spices are also used all over India, even though different regions have their own special flavors. For example, turmeric, cumin, cardamom, ginger. We can also think of common vegetables, oils and other ingredients that are used in many parts of the country. So, we can see how the same ingredients unity can be used in a number of combinations, diversity to prepare an endless variety of dishes. So, even though the same ingredients like rice, wheat, pulses and spices are used across India, they can be combined in many different ways to make a huge variety of dishes. This shows unity because the basic ingredients are common. It shows diversity because the recipes, flavors and dishes are different in every region. Let's explore. As a class activity, make a list of ingredients, grains, spices, etc. that are used in your home. So, you need to make a list of ingredients used in your home for cooking. Include grains like rice, wheat, millets, pulses like dal, chickpeas, beans, spices like turmeric, cumin, cardamom, ginger, and other ingredients like vegetables, oils, etc. Take any one vegetable and think of the number of different dishes you can prepare with it. So you need to pick one vegetable, for example, potato. Think of all the different dishes you can make with it. For potatoes, you could make potato curry, French fries, aloo paratha, mashed potatoes, potato soup, potato fritters, etc. So even though we are using the same vegetable, we can make many different dishes. The main ingredient is the same, but each dish is different in taste, look and style. Textiles and clothing. Every region and community in India has developed its own styles of clothing and dresses. Yet, we notice a commonality in some traditional Indian dresses, irrespective of the material used. An obvious example is the plain length of cloth called the sari, a type of clothing worn in most places of India and made from different fabrics, mostly cotton or silk, but nowadays synthetic fabrics too. Banarasi, Kanjivaram, Paitani, Patan Patola, Muga or Mysore are some of the famous types of silk saris. So in India, different regions and communities have their own styles of clothing. But we can also see some common patterns. One example is the sari, a long piece of cloth worn by women in most parts of India. Saris can be made from different fabrics like cotton, silk or synthetic materials. Some famous types of silk saris are Banarasi, Kanjivaram, Paithani, Patan Patola, Muga and Mysore. There are many more kinds of cotton saris. Altogether, this unstitched piece of cloth comes in hundreds of varieties. They are produced by different methods of weaving. Figure 8.3 on the right, and designing. Some designs are part of the cloth while others are printed after the cloth is woven. Finally, there are endless variations in the colors which are produced from many kinds of pigments. So, like silk saris, cotton saris also come in hundreds of varieties. They are made using different methods of weaving. Some designs are woven into the cloth while others are printed after the cloth is made. There are also many colors made from different kinds of pigments. So, even though all saris are made from a single piece of cloth, they can look very different because of weaving methods, designs and colors. This is another example of unity in diversity. Many variations come from one basic thing. Figure 8.3, a few specimens of colorful traditional Indian textiles. Specimens means examples or samples of something. Figure 8.3 shows a small set of examples that represent the many different designs of traditional Indian textiles found across India. The sari has a long history. This stone relief, figure 8.2 on page 128 from Vaishali, today in Bihar, goes back a few centuries BCE. Relief, a design that stands out from the surface of a panel, which may be of stone, wood, ceramic, or another material. So, a relief means a design or figure that stands out from a flat surface. It can be made on stone, wood, ceramic, or other materials. So, the sari has a very long history in India. In figure 8.2, the woman in a sari is shown in a stone relief, which means her figure is raised from the flat stone surface. So, we can see the details clearly. The stone relief is from Vaishali, which is in today's Bihar. And this relief is from a few centuries before the Common Era, that is BCA, which means that people have been wearing saris for thousands of years. Figure 8.2, stone relief of a woman in a sari from Vaishali, today in Bihar. So this figure shows a stone carving of a woman wearing a sari from Vaishali in today's Bihar. This shows that sari is a traditional Indian dress that has been worn for many centuries. Let's explore. Explain how the example of the sari reflects both unity and diversity in 100 to 150 words. I will give you a sample answer for this question. You can write your own answer based on this example. The sari is a good example of unity in diversity in India. It shows unity because women in many parts of the country wear the sari, making it one of India's most common traditional dresses. It has been worn for thousands of years, as seen in ancient stone carvings like the one from Vaishali. This shows a shared cultural tradition across regions. At the same time, the sari shows diversity. Different states have their own unique ways of weaving, coloring, designing and draping the sari. For example, the Banarasi sari of Uttar Pradesh, the Kanjivaram of Tamil Nadu, the Paithani of Maharashtra and the Muga silk sari of Assam all look very different. Each region adds its own style, material and technique. Thus, the sari represents how India stays united while celebrating many beautiful differences. Don't miss out. For a very long time, India produced the finest cotton in the world, and Indian textiles were exported as far away as Europe. One beautiful type of printed cotton called chintz became so popular in 17th century Europe that the sale of some European dresses dropped sharply. Eventually, to protect their own products, England and France decided to ban the import of chintz from India. So, for a very long time, India produced the finest cotton in the world. Indian fabrics and clothes were so good that they were exported far away even to Europe. One popular type of printed cotton was called chintz. In the 17th century, chintz became so popular in Europe that people started buying more Indian chintz and fewer clothes made in Europe. To protect their own industries, England and France banned the import of chins from India. This shows that Indian textiles were famous and highly valued all over the world. There are many ways of wearing the sari, as they vary from one region to another or from one community to another. In fact, new ways of draping it are still being invented. But in the end, it is a single dress, the sari. In past centuries, several travelers to India marveled at its simplicity, economy, and the diverse ways in which it is worn. In addition, women often put the sari to many uses beyond that of a dress. The 6 pictures in figure 8.4 above illustrate a few such creative uses. So, the sari can be worn in many different ways depending on the region or community. Even today, people are inventing new styles of draping it. Despite all these differences, it is still one single type of dress, the sari. In past centuries, travelers to India were amazed at how simple, economical, and versatile the sari was. Women also use the sari for many purposes beyond just clothing, like carrying things as a veil or for some decorative purposes. Figure 8.4 shows 6 pictures illustrating some of these creative uses. Figure 8.4, women often put the sari to many uses beyond that of a dress. Pictures from South India. A baby cradle made from a sari, fishing using the sari, carrying a water pot on the head, collecting grains from the farmer, using it as a shield from the sun, using it as a blanket to rest in the shade. The sari is very versatile. It is a traditional dress, but it can also be used for many practical purposes. Let's explore. In the above pictures, can you recognize what a sari has been used for? In the first picture, the sari is used as a baby cradle. The sari is tied or folded to safely hold a baby. In second picture, it is used for fishing. Third picture, carrying a water pot on the head. It supports the pot and makes carrying easier. In the fourth picture, it is used to collect grains from the farmer. Shield from the sun. In sixth picture, blanket to rest in the shade. Are you aware of or can you imagine more uses from the sari? So, you need to think of any other ways a sari can be used apart from the examples already given in the book. And you can write it down on your notebook. Following the example of the sari, make a list of different styles you have seen for the dhoti, both as regards with the fabric and the uses the dhoti can be put to. What conclusion can you draw? So now you need to think about the dhoti the same way you thought about the sari. We have to list the different styles of dhotis you have seen, the types of cloth used, the colors, patterns, and the different ways people wear it or use a dhoti in daily life. After making the list, you must write what you understand from it. Festivals galore. Galore means in large amounts or plenty of something. There is an immense variety of festivals in India. You may have noticed that a few common ones are celebrated across India almost at the same time, though they have different names. We will take just one example, Makara Sankranti, which marks the beginning of the harvest season in many parts of India on or around January 14. The map shows the different names of similar festivals across India about the same date. So, India has a variety of festivals and some of them are celebrated all over the country even if the names are different. One example is Makara Sankranti, which marks the start of the harvest season. It is celebrated in many parts of India around January 14. Different regions call it by different names, but the festival happens at the same time and has a similar purpose. The map shows the various names of this festival across India. Figure 8.5, different names of similar festivals across India about the same date. It's the same festival celebrated around mid-January, marking the harvest season. In Jammu and Kashmir, Shishu Sankrat. In Punjab and Haryana, Maghi and Lori. Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, Khichdi Par. In Assam, Magh Bihu. In Gujarat, Uttarayan. And in many states, Makar Sankrant or Makar Sankranti. In Maharashtra, Makar Sankranti. In Madhya Pradesh, Makar Sankrat. And in Odisha, Makara Sankranti. In West Bengal, it is called Paush Sankranti. In Karnataka, Makara Sankraman. In Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, Pedda Panduga. In Kerala, Makara Vilakku. In Tamil Nadu, Pongal. So, the purpose is the same, thanking the sun and celebrating the harvest. But every state has its own way of celebrating. This shows unity in diversity in India. Let's explore. What is your favorite festival and how is it celebrated in your region? Do you know whether it is celebrated in any other part of India, maybe under a different name? So, you need to choose your favorite festival. It could be Diwali, Eid, Christmas, Pongal, Holi, Onam, or any other festival you like. Explain how it is celebrated in your region. What do people do? What special food is prepared? What traditions or customs are followed? Find out if the same festival is celebrated in any other parts of India. Some festivals have different names in different states. I will give you an example here. You can write your own answer based on this example. My favorite festival, Diwali. How it is celebrated in my region? Diwali is celebrated in October to November to mark the victory of light over darkness and good over evil. People clean and decorate their houses, light oil lamps, that is diyas, and burst fireworks. Families worship goddess Lakshmi for wealth and prosperity. People exchange gifts and sweets with friends and neighbors. Is it celebrated elsewhere in India? Yes, Diwali is celebrated all over India, but the ways of celebrating may differ. In Punjab, some people also celebrate Bandi Chor Divas on the same day. In West Bengal, Kali Puja is done instead of Lakshmi Puja. In Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, traditional Diwali rituals are done with lamps, sweets and fireworks. During October to November, many major festivals take place in India. Make a list of the few main ones and their various names in different parts of the country. So, you need to identify the big festivals celebrated in India during October to November. Right? What these festivals are called in different states. And you have to make a simple list. We already know that Diwali is celebrated as Deepavali, Bali Padiyami or Bali Pratibada. It is the 4th day of Diwali honoring King Bali. And Kali Puja in West Bengal, Odisha and Assam. Chhat Puja, also called Surya Shashti. Navratri or Durga Puja, Garba or Dandiya, Golu or Bomme Golu, Dasera and Vijayadashmi. An epic spread. Literature offers us another fine illustration of unity in diversity. Indian literatures are extremely diverse and among the most abundant in the world. Over centuries, despite differences in language, technique, etc., they have shared important themes and concerns. Who has not heard of the Panchatantra, for example? So, Indian literature shows us another example of unity in diversity. India has many languages and many ways of writing stories and poems, so our literature is very diverse. Even with these differences, Indian literature often shares similar themes and lessons like friendship, honesty, bravery, and wisdom. For example, the Panchatantra is famous all over India. It contains stories that teach important moral lessons. This collection of delightful stories with animals as the main characters teaches us important life skills. The original Sanskrit text is at least 2200 years old, but its stories have been adapted in almost every Indian language. So, the Panchatantra is a collection of fun and clever stories, mostly with animals as the main characters. These stories teach important life lessons like being wise, clever, honest, and kind. The original text is in Sanskrit and is at least 2200 years old. Over time, the stories have been translated and adapted into almost every Indian language, so children all over India can enjoy them. In fact, they have traveled well beyond India all the way to Southeast Asia, the Arab world and Europe, inspiring new collections of stories on the way. It is estimated that about 200 adaptations of Panchatantra exist in more than 50 languages. This illustrates how one collection of stories has become many. The Panchatantra is so famous that it has traveled far beyond India. Its stories reached Southeast Asia, the Arab world, and Europe, where they inspired new collections of stories. Today, there are around 200 versions of Panchatantra in more than 50 languages. This shows how one collection of stories has become many, teaching important lessons to people all over the world. The most striking case, however, is that of India's two epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Epic, a long poem generally narrating the adventures of heroes and other great figures of the past. So, an epic is a long poem that tells the stories of heroes or great people from the past. It usually describes their adventures, struggles, and achievements. Epics often teach lessons about bravery, duty, and values. So, the most famous examples of epics in India are the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. The Ramayana tells the story of Lord Rama, his adventures, and his fight against evil. The Mahabharata tells the story of the Pandavas and Kauravas, their struggles and lessons about duty, courage, and righteousness. So, these two epics are central to Indian literature and have influenced stories, plays, and poems for thousands of years. These two long Sanskrit poems, which together might fill some 7,000 pages in their original versions, narrate the stories of heroes who fight to re-establish Dharma. In the Mahabharata, the Pandavas, with Krishna's help, fight their own cousins, the Kauravas, to recover their kingdom. In the Ramayana, Rama, with the help of his brother Lakshman and of Hanuman, defeats the demon Ravan, who had kidnapped his wife Sita. These stories contain many shorter ones that focus on values and constantly ask questions about what is right and what is wrong. So, the Ramayana and Mahabharata are very long Sanskrit poems, together filling about 7,000 pages in their original versions. They tell stories of heroes who fight to restore Dharma. In the Mahabharata, the Pandavas, with Krishna's help, fight their cousins, the Kauravas, to get back their kingdom. In the Ramayana, Rama, with the help of his brother Lakshman and Hanuman, defeats the demon Ravan who kidnapped his wife Sita. Inside these big stories, there are many smaller stories that teach values and ask questions about right and wrong. So, these epics are not just exciting adventures, they teach lessons about duty, courage, honesty, and justice, which are still important today. Let's explore. In a class discussion, try to identify the episode depicted in the painting shown in figure 8.6 above and important details associated with it. Figure 8.6, a painting depicting a major episode from the Ramayana, 18th century, Himachal Pradesh. So this 18th century painting is from Himachal Pradesh, which shows Ravan abducting Sita. Important details to notice. Sita is being taken away forcefully, showing her distress. Ravan has multiple heads and arms representing his power and evil. The forest and surroundings are shown, indicating where the kidnapping took place. Jatayu, a giant bird, tries to rescue Sita. This episode is important because it starts Rama's journey to rescue Sita and teaches lessons about good versus evil, bravery, and duty. For more than 2 millenniums, these two epics have been translated or adapted into regional literatures in India and beyond. In addition, there are countless folk versions of them. A few years ago, a scholar conducted a survey in Tamil Nadu alone and counted about 100 versions of the Mahabharata that have come down to us in folklore forms. Imagine what the number might be for the whole of India. So, for more than 2000 years, the two great Indian epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, have been retold in many different languages and styles. They were not only written down in books but also adapted into songs, plays, poems, and stories in every region of India and even outside India. There are also many folk versions. For example, a researcher once did a study only in Tamil Nadu and found nearly 100 different folk versions of the Mahabharata in that state alone. This shows how widely these stories have spread. If one state has so many versions, imagine how many the entire country might have. This highlights India's unity in diversity. The same stories are loved everywhere, but each region expresses them in its own unique way. In fact, many communities have their own versions of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. They have also preserved legends connecting their own history with these epics. This is especially true of tribal communities in many parts of India, such as the Bhils, the Gonds, the Mundas, and many more. Most tribes of India's northeast and Himalayan regions, including Kashmir, have had their own version of one or the other of the two epics or both. So in India, people live in many different communities and cultures, but almost everyone knows the stories of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. What is interesting is that different communities tell these stories in their own special way. They may change some parts of the story or add their own ideas to it. So there isn't just one Ramayana or one Mahabharata. There are many versions. Some communities also mix the stories of these epics with their own history. For example, they might say that their ancestors met the characters of the epics or helped them in some way. These are called legends. This is especially common among tribal communities like the Bhils, Gonds, and Mundas. These tribes have passed down their own versions of the epics for generations. Even in the northeastern states and the Himalayan regions like Kashmir, tribes have their own versions of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, or sometimes both. So this shows unity in diversity. The stories are the same, but everyone tells them in their own beautiful way. These tribal adaptations are transmitted orally along with legends on how the heroes of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, generally any or all of the five Pandavas, their wife Draupadi, but also sometimes their cousin and adversary Duryodhan, visited the tribe's respective regions. So, in many tribal communities, stories from the Ramayana and the Mahabharata are not written in books. Instead, they are told orally from one generation to the next. These tribes also have special legends, that is, stories about how the heroes from the epics, like the five Pandavas, Draupadi, and sometimes even Duryodhan, visited their own villages or regions long ago. Because of this, each tribal group has its own unique version of the stories. They change or add details to show how these heroes are connected to their land, their people, or their culture. Figure 8.7, Panchatantra, a carved stone in a forest of the Nilgiris, Tamil Nadu, depicting the five Pandava brothers. The shrine containing this stone is maintained by Irula tribals to commemorate the Pandavas passing through the area. So this picture shows a stone carving called Panchatantra, which means the five Pandava brothers from the Mahabharata. It is found in a forest in the Nilgiri hills of Tamil Nadu. The Irula tribal community lives in this region. They believe that the Pandavas once traveled through their area long ago. To remember and honor this, the Irula people take care of this small shrine where the carved stone is kept. Commemorate means to remember and honor someone or something, usually by keeping a special object, place, or event. So here the Irula tribal people maintain the carved stone to commemorate, that is, to honor and remember the Pandavas, because they believe that the Pandavas once passed through that area. The anthropologist K.S. Singh directed the People of India project we referred to earlier. See page 126. In the case of the Mahabharata, he observed there is hardly a place in the country where the epic heroes such as the Pandavas did not visit according to folklore. And the same may be said of the Ramayana. Over the centuries, perhaps more than any other text, these two epics created a dense web of cultural interactions across India and many parts of Asia. Another example of unity in diversity. So, the anthropologist K.S. Singh studied the people living in many parts of India. He found something very interesting about the Mahabharata. According to many folk stories, the heroes of the Mahabharata, especially the Pandavas, are believed to have visited almost every part of India. People in different regions have their own stories about where the Pandavas traveled, stayed, or fought. The same thing is true for the Ramayana. Many places across India have legends saying that Rama, Sita, Lakshman, or other characters passed through their region. Because of these stories, these two epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, have connected people from different cultures, languages, and regions for hundreds of years. This has helped create a strong feeling of unity in diversity across India and even in many Asian countries. To further illustrate the theme of this chapter, we could have continued our journey and turned to more facets of Indian culture. For instance, in India's classical arts, including classical architecture, both diversity and unity are easily noticeable. You will study these fields through the art curricular area. This means that Indian culture has many beautiful sides. If we had more time, we could explore even more of them. For example, in India's classical arts like classical dance, music, painting, sculpture, and architecture, you will notice both diversity and unity. Diversity, that is, different states and regions have their own styles, designs, and traditions. Unity, even though these styles look different, they still follow some common ideas and values found in Indian culture. You will learn more about these classical art forms in your art curriculum, where you will study how India's art changes from place to place but still remains connected. In the end, we should remember that Indian culture celebrates diversity as an enrichment but never loses sight of the underlying unity which nourishes that diversity. So, in the end, we should remember that Indian culture loves and respects diversity. This means we enjoy having different languages, foods, clothes, festivals, stories, and traditions. These differences make our culture rich, colorful, and interesting. They enrich us. But at the same time, we must also remember that beneath all these differences, India is united. There is a common spirit, a shared feeling of belonging and values that keep us together as one country. So, Indian culture teaches us that being different is good, but all these differences can live together because we have a strong unity that supports and nourishes everything. Before we move on, India offers immense diversity in its landscapes, people, languages, dresses, foods, festivals, and customs. So, India is a very large country. When we travel from one place to another, we can see many differences. The land looks different, that is mountains, deserts, plains, beaches, and people look different and speak different languages. They wear different kinds of clothes. They eat different kinds of food. They celebrate different festivals and follow different customs. So even though there are so many differences, all these things together make India rich, colorful, and special. This variety is what we call diversity. At the same time, all Indians share a sense of belonging to one nation. This feeling brings us together. That is why India is known for unity in diversity. Many differences, but still one country. Diversity is easy to perceive in many fields, but there is also an underlying unity. So, India is very diverse. It has many different landscapes, people, languages, dresses, foods, festivals, and customs. This is easy to notice in daily life. But even with all these differences, there is an underlying unity. This means that despite being different, Indians share common values, traditions, and a sense of togetherness. Perceive means to notice, see, or become aware of something. For example, in the sentence, diversity is easy to perceive in many fields, it means it is easy to notice or observe the difference in India's landscapes, people, languages, clothes, food, festivals, and customs. So, diversity does not divide us. It makes our culture richer and more colorful. India's unity celebrates diversity because diversity does not divide, it enriches. This means that India has many different cultures, languages, foods, clothes, and traditions, but these differences do not separate us or make us fight. Instead, they make our country richer, more beautiful, and more interesting. All these different cultures live together peacefully and form one nation. So, diversity becomes a strength, not a weakness. In short, diversity brings variety, color, and richness to India, and all of it together creates one strong, united country. So, with this, we have completed the chapter Unity in Diversity or Many in the One. I hope you found it easy to understand. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching. We will see you again in our next video. Bye bye.